Hello everyone. Today we are exploring one of the most sophisticated ways to get experts to agree on something without the drama of a typical meeting, the Delphi technique. Formally, this is an information gathering technique used as a way to reach a consensus of experts on a specific subject, where the experts participate anonymously. In plain English, it's like a blind taste test for project risks. You've probably seen this at the office where one loud, powerful person in a meeting says, "This project will be fine," and everyone else just nods because they don't want to argue with the boss. The Delphi technique stops that groupthink by keeping everyone's identity hidden. I remember a project where we needed to estimate the risk of a new technology failing. By using this method, the junior engineers felt safe enough to share the truth without worrying about what their managers would think. So now that we have mastered the idea that anonymity leads to honesty, you might be wondering how we actually select the people for this secret mission. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is selecting the panel of experts. This brings us to the selection of experts. The technical books describe this as identifying a group of stakeholders who possess deep knowledge or specialized experience relevant to the risk categories being explored. To put it simply, we are looking for the smartest people in the room. But here's the trick. They don't all have to be in the same room or even in the same company. You might pick an internal architect, an external consultant, and a vendor. Stay with me here, because the quality of your risk identification depends entirely on the quality of these stakeholders. If you pick people who all have the same background, you'll get the same boring answers. By picking a diverse panel, you ensure that you are seeing the risk from every possible angle. Now, once you have your dream team picked out, you have to ask them the big questions without letting them talk to each other, which leads us straight into the initial questionnaire. Now we have to tackle the first round questionnaire. Formally, this involves the facilitator sending out a series of open-ended questions to the experts to solicit their individual opinions on project risks or estimates. In everyday speak, this is the first draft. You send out an email or a survey link and ask, "What are the top 5 risks you see for this project?" Since it's anonymous, the experts can be brutally honest. They aren't trying to impress anyone or win an argument. They are just sharing their knowledge. Let's break this down together. This is where you get the raw, unfiltered data. You might find that 3 experts are worried about the budget, while 2 are worried about the schedule. This variety is exactly what we want. But once you have all these different opinions, you need a way to show the group what everyone else is thinking without revealing names. Which brings us right into our next step, the feedback loop. This brings us to iterative feedback and review. The book style definition refers to the process where the facilitator summarizes the responses from the first round and sends that summary back to the experts for further comment. To translate that into human speak, it's the "what do you think of that" stage. You tell the group, "Okay, as a whole, the team thinks the schedule is our biggest risk, but one person mentioned a hidden legal issue. Does that change your mind?" This is where the magic happens. Experts start to see things they missed, and because they don't know who said what, they can change their opinions without losing face or feeling embarrassed. You've probably seen people dig their heels in during a meeting just because they don't want to admit they were wrong. The Delphi technique removes that ego. Now, while this back and forth is great for learning, we are ultimately looking for one thing, a common ground, which leads us to reaching consensus. Let's look at reaching consensus. Technically, this is the point in the Delphi process where the range of responses narrows and the experts converge on a shared understanding or estimate. In simple terms, it's when the cloud of ideas turns into a single solid plan. Usually, after 2 or 3 rounds of these anonymous surveys, the outliers start to move toward the middle. You find that the experts eventually agree on the most likely risks. I once worked on a project where the initial risk estimates were miles apart, but by round 3, the experts were within 5% of each other. It's an incredibly reliable way to get a group truth that isn't influenced by office politics. By reaching this consensus, you identify the risks that truly matter to the people who know best. Now, while having this agreement is a massive win, we have to make sure this expert advice is officially put to work, which brings us right into our final step. Finally, we reach the formal documentation and risk integration. The formal definition is the final step of recording the agreed upon risks and estimates in the risk register and identifying the experts as key advisory stakeholders. In plain English, we are taking the wisdom of the crowd and putting it into our to-do list. We don't just finish the survey and say thanks, we take that consensus and we use it to build our risk response plans. We can now go to our project sponsor and say, the experts have anonymously agreed that this is our number one priority. That is a very powerful statement. It's been a long journey from picking a panel to having a unified risk strategy. This systematic approach ensures that your stakeholder engagement is based on deep expert reality rather than just whoever shouted the loudest. So, now that we have mastered how to use the Delphi technique to find the true pulse of project risk, we are going to discuss nominal group tech in details in next chapter.